Adrian Hill, you spoke to Adrian Hill, the referee, tonight. Mike,
Definitely.
What do you say?
Well, let's explain, like we always do, how this stuff works. Adrian Hill was the referee, but when there's a situation where a call leads to maybe further questioning from reporters, you have an opportunity where you're able to ask the referee, or in this case, the vice president of officiating, George Stewart, who oversaw the replay on the Ja'Lynn Polk play. And so here's what George Stewart said, and all the reporters get this information at the same time, Dan. We're relaying it here as our show is about to go off the air. He said the second foot, yes, the toe is in, but based on the rule book, the heel needs to come down in the field of play. It came down in the white, which clear-cut, based on the rule book, it's not about the toe, the heel has to come down in the field of play, and that's the call and that's the rule.
You know the history of the game too, Mike. Where did that come from? Because I think all of us are used to seeing a guy on a sideline make a catch, 1-2, two toes dragging, it's good.
Right.
Where did that come from in the end zone?
So this has been around, Dan, for a long time. Like, I did a quick search, and they were talking about a 2011 game with Julio Jones down in Atlanta. So this is clearly not the first time that this has come up. It's the first time I remember seeing it specific to the Patriots, though, and really that close. And I know Ja'Lynn Polk said he didn't get an explanation when he was asked in the locker room.
But why the
game.
toe? Why, in that situation, why not just the toe? Why the heel too?
It's a great question. They have the competition committee that gets together, and they make all these different rules, Dan. I don't know the answer to that, but maybe that's a good question to follow up on in the future. Definitely.
All right, well, let's get to the team and what we saw out there today. Obviously, the offense, again, the defense looked like it got tired because it was on the field for so long. What do you see for this offense, and where do you go from here?
So, well, the offense took too long to come alive, and I think where you go from here is you ask the question that Zoe has been talking about for the last week. Would it look much different with Drake Maye? Because I go back to what Jerod Mayo said this week. I thought he gave us a little hint, Dan. He said it's unsustainable to expect to win games the way they played against the Bengals in the one game they won. And you look at, they possessed the ball in this game for just 25 minutes, which gets to your point about the defense being tired. And the passing offense, you're in the fourth quarter, and you haven't hit 100 yards. So I imagine, Dan, the coaching staff's going to go back, look at the film, and say, all right, we've got 5 offensive linemen settled right now. Micah Wenu back at right guard. How much of this was about protection? How much of this was about receivers not getting open, and how much was on the quarterback?
Well, the quarterback has now been sacked 17 times and 49 hits, according to the in-game statisticians. But I thought in that last drive, just before the desperate drive, that he showed a lot of progress, Mike. Maybe it was the shotgun or what have you. Yeah.
Going fast.
Yeah, why wouldn't you get to that? Because he looked like he wasn't thinking at that point and just looking and throwing.
And that's what they're going to have to talk about, Dan, and say, maybe we can get that going earlier in a game. Or, you mentioned the hits. Like, first drive, to me, that was on the offensive line. But some of the hits he took after that, how much of that was holding on to the ball too long? So, to me, those are the questions they need to answer after watching the film. And I asked Jerod Mayo after the game, what's the separation between Jacoby and Drake? Trying to get a feel, Dan, for, like, is it really, really close?
Is it that close?
And his non-answer, which he doesn't have to answer every question, leads me to believe it's close. So I'm just keeping my eyes on it to say, is that something they would really consider?
Okay, let's end it. We're going to send it back to Steve, but just a quick thought, percentage-wise. Quarterback, who? Jacoby versus Maye Sunday at 1 against Houston here next week.
Well, so I think right now it's Jacoby.
Okay.
But I think it's more of a conversation this week, I would say, than I would have thought it was last week, Dan.
Mike,
do you agree or disagree?
No, I totally agree. I think
agree,
they're trending in that direction. At some point, it's going to happen. Now, I think
Just
you got that line. I thought the line played pretty well. Demontre Jacobs has been pretty good.
Tackle,
I think that they can get there. So it's going to happen, if not this week, maybe down the road after that.
Just based on what Jerod Mayo said,
and
right?
what everybody's seeing,
Offensively,
too.
it's holding them back.
Stop, enough penalties. All right.